V asks, you mentioned you're a psychiatric nurse. This is something I've talked about with a fellow nurse at a domestic violence center I visited. Do you think there is a correlation between being a nurse and being in abusive relationships? She stated that the victims who showed up are mostly nurses or in the nursing field. Yes, I think there's an incredibly strong correlation there. And I remember when I graduated from, well, when I was in nursing school, and the other instructors, most of them were nurses, and them telling us how to deal with doctors that were jerks. And I remember thinking, like, no, I'm not going to be treated like garbage. And them kind of looking at me like, oh yes, you will be, and you will put up with it because you're a nurse. And my friend and I both were like, you, like, no, we're not. But a lot of, so that's a very common thing. And then again, at my graduation, so my nursing school graduation, they had us recite this Florence Nightingale poem. And, it basically talks about, kind of going to the ends of the earth to help people. And even then, I remember thinking, this seems like we're taking an oath to codependency. Like, it just didn't seem healthy at the time. And that was even before, and I did not identify as even having any issues with codependency until like 6 months ago. So, but at the time it was so out there. I'm like, this is crazy. So yes, I think there's a lot of codependent people and people with poor boundaries and people that, so when I say codependent, because I think that's another word that's really misunderstood, it's that kind of one-sided dynamic where it tends to be a person who's doing a lot of like excessive caretaking, fixing, so kind of controlling or clingy behavior. There's a couple of professions. I think you get this a lot with teachers, you get this a lot with nurses, and you get this a lot with therapists. And I think there's probably a lot of therapists out there that have a lot of, their own stuff, and they got into therapy because they really wanted to help other people, which is a beautiful reason to get into anything. But if a person has their own unexamined stuff, and if they've got to work through their own codependency, it can be a very, unhealthy dynamic. So yes, there's a lot of nurses that put up with stuff. And I think too, being a nurse, when because you're so used to that one-sided dynamic of I'll take care of you, and you're oftentimes mistreated because people are in pain, they're angry, they're scared. Where what would normally be not okay behavior becomes kind of your new normal. So, so I think people that get into nursing tend to have a lot of that codependency. They have a lot of, oftentimes, that mentality of, I'm here to help, and that's my role. Not realizing that it's healthy to have boundaries. Again, I remember being in nursing school during clinicals and them saying, okay, you might do 12-hour shifts, and you might even have to work 18 hours, and this is like, you might not get to eat, and you might not get to go to the bathroom. And them telling me this, and I remember thinking, no, like, I'm not going to kill myself to take care of everybody else. Like, that's very unbalanced. The only way that I can be a good nurse is if I go to the bathroom when I have to go to the bathroom, and if I eat when I need to eat, and can balance that. But I'm not going to sink myself to save other people. Like, that's not a healthy mindset. And so, yeah, somebody was saying about her narcissist was excited that he'd found a nurse. Yes, I find that I attract a lot of I find that I attract a lot of problematic people if I mention that I'm a nurse. So on I don't bring that up. And I definitely don't bring this up to people. This is something that I reveal in time. I've learned that lesson the hard way too, because they think, oh, you're going to be great because you're going to be a caregiver. You're going to make things all about me. And it's like a moth to a flame. I mean, it just attracts a lot of problematic people. And a lot of nurses, I think, really do. This is their. I mean, a lot of nurses. You'll see this everywhere. It's this idea that it's a calling, and I think the reason it feels like a calling is I bet. Elise says, Dana, if you tell somebody that you're a therapist, they will run. Oh, I can imagine. There's this idea with nurses that it's a calling. And I think, again, for a lot of people that it is, but they're being called by their codependency, because that codependency for a lot of people tends to be that knee-jerk reaction. They've been that a quote unquote adult child. They've been the caregiver. They probably had to take care of siblings or other family members their whole life. So for them, they're totally okay with sinking themselves to save other people. And again, it's not healthy. Yep. Zola says, I'm a nurse. V says, I've done work as a CNA. Elise says, I too am a nurse. Yeah, I think you're going to find a lot of caregiving professions with victims. Not, again, not all of them are, because narcissists manipulate vulnerabilities, not necessarily people. We tend to, I think, be more the common thing there. But I mean, I've met victims that are, doctors and lawyers and judges and, CEOs and all kinds of professions that you would think would be more of the narcissist kind of realm. Police officer. I was emailing a guy. He'd been a police officer for like 20 something years, and he was in an abusive relationship. His wife was abusive, and he went to trial and kept me posted the whole time. So he said it was absolutely awful because none of his squad understood. They didn't support him, and he was a big guy and she was little, and nobody understood. How could a man be abused? Give me a break. He had zero support. Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.